Good evening, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for March 31, 2024. And in the news this evening, teen suspected of drowning in Mandeville community pool. Police are probing a suspected case of drowning involving a teenager in the upscale community of Ingleside in Mandeville on Thursday. Police named the deceased as Zachary Bryan, 16, a resident of Hatfield District in Manchester. Bryan reportedly attended Bel Air High School in Mandeville. A police report said about 3:30 p.m., Bryan, along with other students, was at a sporting complex in Ingleside when he jumped into a pool, got into difficulty and drowned. The police were called to the scene and the body removed to the morgue. 1 dead, 6 hospitalized in Fern Gully crash. A woman is dead and the 6 other persons are in serious condition at hospital following a motor vehicle accident on the Fern Gully Main Road in St. Anne Sunday morning. The name of the deceased has not been released. Police say that minutes to midday, a 15-seater motor vehicle with 23 persons aboard crashed into the Fern Gully banking. Police were called to the scene and the injured persons were taken to the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, where a woman succumbed and the others were admitted. It is reported that 16 children and 7 adults were traveling in the vehicle. Head of the St. Anne Police, Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell, is urging motorists to obey the speed limit and to follow the road code. Man featured on GCF's Wanted Wednesdays charged with murder. A 29-year-old man who was featured on the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Wanted Wednesdays has been slapped with several charges including murder. He is Ashwin Mackenzie. Mackenzie, who turned himself in to the Halfway Tree Police on Wednesday, March 27, accompanied by his attorney, was interviewed and subsequently charged with a conspiracy to murder, possession of a prohibited weapon, and the use of a firearm to commit a felony. According to investigators, on Friday, August 11, 2023, Cedric Thompson, a 32-year-old laborer of Church Street in Fletcher's Land, Kingston, was gunned down in his community after being attacked by 3 armed men. After following several investigative leads, lawmen established Mackenzie as a suspect, along with Calvin Simon and a third man who is now deceased. Mackenzie and Simon were published on Wanted Wednesdays on Wednesday, March 27. As investigators now finalize the preparations for Mackenzie to appear before court, they are appealing to Simon to also turn himself in at any police station. Members of the public who can assist investigators are encouraged to contact Crime Stop at 311, the police 119 number, or any police station. American to face a trial in July, re-alleged the killing of estranged wife. A July 15 trial date has been set for a United States citizen who is charged with the murder of his estranged wife in Seaview District in St. Elizabeth 5 years ago. Henry Toppin, a 57-year-old analyst of a Florida address in the USA, appeared in the St. Elizabeth Circuit Court last week. He is charged with the February 15, 2019 murder of 49-year-old Moylene Williams Toppin at her home in Seaview District in the Breadbasket Parish. When the case was mentioned in court, Chief Justice Brent Sykes set the date, following which Toppin's attorney indicated that his client was eager to have the case tried. The allegations are that about 6:45 a.m. on February 15, 2019, Williams Toppin was leaving her home in her motor vehicle when she was shot by her husband, who fled the scene after the shooting. She was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. 5 days later, her husband was arrested and formally charged with murder. U.S. boys allegedly physically abused at the St. Elizabeth Academy, says attorney. Relatives of the 7 teenagers who were removed from the Atlantis Leadership Academy in St. Elizabeth by the Child Protection and the Family Services Agency amid allegations of abuse are reportedly growing more frustrated. The cause of the frustration, according to a report from U.S. media outlet News Nation on Thursday, is due to no clear indication being provided by the Jamaican authorities to the families about when the boys will be returned to the U.S. This was despite the CPFSA in a release the same day indicating that it is collaborating with the International Social Services on home assessments to ensure that safe environments are in place for the teens upon their return to the U.S. While the CPFSA has not publicly stated the nature of the reported abuse meted out to the boys, U.S. Attorney Michael McFarland, who is representing the family of a 16-year-old boy who was attending the Jamaica-based school, said allegations are that the boys were physically abused. They are investigating allegations of physical abuse, which would include beatings, also chokeholds, restraints, things like that, and the neglect, which would include, withholding food and not getting proper nutrition to the boys, McFarland told the Nation News in an interview. McFarland also shared that his client's teenage son had lost a significant amount of weight since entering Atlantis Leadership Academy. However, the attorney stressed that the overall developments regarding the abuse remain allegations at this time. McFarland said the Fleischman family had sent their 16-year-old son to the St. Elizabeth-based school to help with his aggression behavior. But the family is now regretting that decision in light of the allegations surrounding the school. McFarland said the mother of the 16-year-old American was able to visit with him after a hearing earlier this month. Still, there is no information when the boy can fully reunite with his family. Randall Cook, the founder and the director of Atlantis Leadership Academy, told the Nation News that he was eager to have discussions surrounding the developments at the school. Earlier on Thursday, the CPFSA broke its silence as the developments at the school were being extensively reported on in the U.S. media and the local media earlier in the week. CPFSA said the alleged abuse came to light during an unannounced welfare check on February 8, conducted jointly with representatives from the U.S. Embassy in Kingston. The agency said that it was during its visit to the private facility signs of abuse and neglect were observed, leading to the immediate removal of 8 teens aged 14 to 18 from the facility for their safety. The following day, the matter was presented in the local family court, where an interim order was granted for the CPFSA to retain custody of the children while further investigations are conducted into the allegations of abuse. The agency also noted that the case was subsequently referred to the St. Elizabeth Police Division's Criminal Investigations Branch for a separate probe to take place. 7 of the teens are now being safeguarded in residential child care facilities, according to the CPFSA. Notably, an 18-year-old who aged out of the children's court jurisdiction was returned to the United States in February. In commenting on the case, head of the CPFSA, Lord Adams Thomas, said the agency's priority is the well-being of the American children while they are in Jamaica. They have undergone medical assessments and are generally in good health, receiving ongoing care, including specialized psychotherapeutic support, she said. We are also collaborating with the International Social Services for the safe reintegration of these teens with their families, added Adams Thomas. Additionally, the CPFSA and the ISSUSA are working together on home assessments to ensure safe environments for the teens upon their return, Adams Thomas assured. Holness cites a need for orderly, thoughtful revisioning of Kingston. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has called for an orderly and a thoughtful approach to re-imaging Kingston and other urban areas across the country. Holness made the remarks at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the vineyards at the Deanery apartment complex in Kingston on Wednesday. As Jamaica looks to redevelop its urban spaces and the city of Kingston, the Prime Minister said priorities should include reliable infrastructure, convenience, and architecture that reflects the country's identity. We have to revision Kingston, but the revisioning has to be done in an orderly way. It has to be done in a thoughtful way, declared Holness. He emphasized the need for acquiring land to enable coordinated development because much of the current development is happening in a haphazard and unorganized way as individual deals are struck. We have to devise a strategy of getting critical mass of land in the area in Kingston. What has been happening so far is that we have individual initiatives, he indicated. In explaining the concept of individual initiatives, Holness said, "We have a developer who has a connection with somebody who owns land, and they go and they strike a deal, probably a land development deal, to develop half-acre here. And then a few blocks over, somebody decides, you know what, I'm getting older. I'd love to move into a smaller apartment, I'm gonna sell my lot. So what you find is that the development is happening in a haphazard way, but it has to be coordinated and better organized, Holness stressed. Meanwhile, he outlined some of the elements that would be critical for the new vision of Jamaica's urban spaces, including for Kingston. I think we want a convenience. Then everybody wants reliable infrastructure. Those are things that make modern living comfortable, and then particularly for urban spaces, our architecture must reflect a sense of who we are, some form of modernity, but it must also be aspirational. So I think I am highlighting 3 elements of the vision of what we would want the developments of our city to be, Holness stated.